Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Welcome to the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how to buy and sell at the same time without losing sleep, right? It's a lot of logistics, and so how are we going to do that and make it all smooth?
Yeah, I think we run into people, clients that we meet with, and oftentimes in a downsizing situation, it's been a long time since someone has bought a house and sold a house, and all of those logistics can be worrisome and scary. We're in it, doing it every day with our clients, so we've got information and strategies that it's not as worrisome as it might feel like. We have plans so people won't be homeless in the interim, and so the finances can work out in different ways, but people are very worried.
Yeah.
Because they just don't remember how it all works and how to handle it.
Right. So we're going to do some stress reducing today about how to buy and sell at the same time. I'm Jody Roscoe.
I'm Heather Fisher.
And so I think that the number one thing is just get it all in your head, to get all the pieces in your head. And so it's a struggle. It's a real struggle, especially if you haven't done it for a long time. And we definitely meet people who have been in their homes 40 years, 50 years, long time. That whole market is a whole different thing than that. Even if they had done it back then, it's totally different now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we want to just talk about what the challenges are first. So I think first, it feels overwhelming, right? It feels like financially it's risky, especially if you haven't done it in a while. It feels like that might be scary. Not sure, back to being homeless, what's that going to look like? Do we have to have temporary housing? Like, how is that even going to work logistically? There may be some health or mobility limits when it's happening, so that makes things feel a little bit harder.
How are we going to physically meet a accelerated timeline?
Yep. And then, sentimental attachment. So I think it's never, we get a lot of people that will say, well, we're just not quite ready. And it's never about timing of not being ready. That is never really the reason. There's just underlying emotional reasons or, mental thought process reasons or logistical reasons that they can't, pull that trigger right now. So, we hear things like, well, what if I sell and then I can't find my place, the next place in time, or
how will I buy that next place if the equity in my current home is what I'm going to use to buy that?
Right. Or what if I buy and then I can't sell my house?
Mm-hmm.
All the different, fears kind of come out. So we'll talk about some different strategies that we can have around, figuring out what those manageable steps are. But the 5 things, I think that the 5 struggle things are emotional attachment to the houses. And the answer to that is future thinking, right? So if you're feeling really emotionally attached, and that means you're living in the past of what that experience has been and in the memories, which you can keep those memories as you move forward, right? But I think that the answer, if you're feeling emotionally attached and stuck, the answer to that would be spending some time getting dreamy, because that's what we talk about, future thinking about what that next piece is going to look like. If it's fears of the unknown and change, if that's what you feel like is holding you back, then the answer to that is information, right?
Yeah.
The only way that we can get past what if is if we have answers to this is how this is going to go. And so you need some professionals that can help you with those answers, I think. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the workload, I think that the answer to that is, again, professionals or people that can help you. We do that all the time. We go out and talk to people who are thinking about downsizing in the future and figure out what that roadmap looks like. So if that's you, give us a call. We're happy to come and talk to you about what that can look like, and we have tons and tons of people that do all kinds of things, people that do things I didn't even know existed, that can help you around whatever is feeling overwhelming. The 4th thing is financial uncertainty, and the answer to that is also information and people potentially, people to take a look at that and what that looks like. And then the last thing is family dynamics and guilt.
Yeah.
People, well, Mom, you can't sell the house, or you feeling guilty for whatever reason about selling the house. And that's back to, emotional stuff and the future thinking. So really it's either future thinking or information or people. Those are the answers.
Yeah. And I think that, we're always advocating for getting as much time on your side as you can to be ready. And that definitely goes back to that time is going to pass. If you're thinking of downsizing in a year or two, if it's not right now due to a crisis or something else putting that time pressure on, that year or two will pass. And you could do nothing but live in the worry and the unknown.
Fear.
Or you can spend that time on the tools you just talked about, gathering information, finding out who those resources are, having consultations, coming up with that strategy with us or one of our, agents, and getting that information on your side as early as possible takes that fear out, and then you can make progress towards the plan no matter what the time frame is.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And so we've had so many people where we have conversations and we go, we're just going to come and we're going to do, a roadmap. We're going to make a plan for you. And at the end, they're like, oh my gosh, this information has been so helpful. I feel so much better now. I know what to do next now. And it might not be that the next thing isn't moving out of the house, right? There's a list of things that potentially need to be done before it happens, but just knowing what that plan is and knowing more information about how that could happen, I think that is really the key to making a lot of that anxiety and fear go away.
Yeah, I think that in conversations with people that haven't moved in a very long time, especially don't know what their options are beyond where they are, so they feel that level of comfort. But if you just start with the being dreamy and then talk to us and say, here's my dream, I want, a peaceful place with no steps that, has these amenities, maybe that's a different house, maybe it's a community, maybe it's a different state or a different location, but armed with that plan, the information can make more sense, and the plan makes sense to what you're going towards. We've met many people that in their mind it's like this house or a nursing home. Those are, nothing in between to just make life so wonderful.
Yeah, there are there are definitely more options than that. So let's talk about some of that. So basically preparation is the key, right? Yeah. Starting, getting prepared, talking to people like you said. So define, first, in our 5-step process, right? It's Dream It, which we've talked about so much about really sitting down, taking the time, think about what you want your future to look like, define what that move could look like. Is that, are you going to do a 2-step move? Maybe you're in a big house now. Maybe you need to go to a condo for a few years. In our area, some of the places, some of the communities have 2 or 3 year waits, 4-year waits. In our area, there are certain communities that have quite a waiting list. So maybe you get on the waiting list and you go to a condo for those few years to, do kind of a 2-step process. We have somebody that's talking to us about that right now. Or maybe, maybe that's not it. Maybe you can, find your next step now. But the idea first is to dream about what that's going to look like. Is that, what do you want to do in your life? What are your hobbies? What are you going to spend your time doing? Who are you going to spend your time with? What do you want that to look like? And really spend some time dreaming about what that is. It a condo? Is it a ranch with 1 floor? Is it a community? Is it a different city because it's closer to your family? Like what is that?
Yeah, and I think as you start digging into that, I know we met one couple recently that had a plan for a couple years. I think it's been at least probably 6 months to a year since we first met them. And in casual conversation, they had a plan. They're on a waiting list. somewhere here locally. And then we got a call from them, hey, our dreams changed. We now have an opportunity for an out-of-state move.
Yeah.
And, because they've been information gathering and because they then had us out for more of a strategy, like that's a full possibility. And, but it's happening, and they will likely end up in such a great place close to grandkids.
Yeah.
But it's because they're being very intentional about thinking about what's next and what they want that to look like, and then letting experts help guide them on how to make that happen.
Right. So if you're going to go to a community, then you just need to understand what that looks like, what their timing looks like. Do they have a waiting list? Do they not? If you say, okay, I'm ready to move in, does that mean you can move in next week? Or does that mean you have, a couple months before they refresh the place and then you get to move in? Financially, do you need to put money up front with them, or what does that look like? So there are a lot of questions to be asked when you go, if you're going to go to a community, and kind of figure out what that all looks like. And there are answers for all those questions. Again, I think you need to contact a real estate team that really knows what they're talking about when they're talking about moving into, downsizing and that. So obviously, if you're local, call us. If you're not local to the Dayton, Cincinnati area, then call us anyways, and we will.
We have a whole network of agents that we can connect you with to answer these questions. A little bit of information that you've gathered that starts making that dream, that picture really clear, and then the experts like us, we can show you how to get from here to that dream.
Yeah. And then obviously start to downsize your things. We have lots of other podcasts that talk about how to do that. So go listen to some of those other ones that talk about how to actually do the downsizing of the things, beginning that decluttering. And then knowing what your home value is, because there's all kinds of pieces to that. So if you're going to buy a condo, or if you're going to buy a ranch home or something smaller, then you need to know what's out there in the market. You need to know what kind of pricing that looks like. But on the flip side, you also need to know what your house is worth, and if there are things that you need to do to your house. So you do need a really good real estate professional to come in and talk to you about that. And pricing of your house, you just need a realistic market value of what that is, and that is always a snapshot in time. So if you talk to somebody and you're not ready to move for a year or two, they can tell you what that is in the current market, but that could potentially change as the market changes, because the market goes up and down, and I don't think there's going to be giant, changes in the market, but there are changes in the market. So don't get stuck on a price until you're really close to moving. You can get a general idea of what it is, but always that is a snapshot in time.
Yeah, absolutely. The other, piece that a real estate professional like us can help you with is that timeline. Once you have some of those other pieces of information, just talking through, are you moving first? Are you selling while you're still living in the house? I think we'll go through a couple of the most common game plans on what that can look like. But deciding that with, your real estate agent can set, there's a lot of milestones in that timeline, saying, I want to be sold and have my proceeds in my pocket, by this date does not, there's a whole backup from that as to when you should go on the market and when you should do other various steps. So you're not alone in needing to figure all of that out. Call us early so we can backtrack up to that roadmap of what step to do when.
Yeah, how soon to put the house on the market, or like you said, if you're going to buy first or sell first. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about kind of the main options of what you can do, right? So you want to end up in a different place. That's the goal. So are you going to sell your house first and then buy? That's an option. So if you sell your house first and then you buy, you know what proceeds, you know what your house sold for, so you know exactly what the proceeds were. But you may be homeless for a minute. So you have to have, it's a safer financially, but it might require a double move. Not necessarily, but it could require a double move where you have some kind of temporary housing, whether that means you go live with the family and pack your stuff up for a little bit, storage, or you rent, a short-term place or whatever that looks like. That way you can buy without being contingent, without any pressure, any of that. And you know exactly what your proceeds were and how long it took to sell your house. And I think it does matter what the market is in general currently. We've been in a market where houses have sold really, really quickly. And so in that market, then in that particular kind of market, you usually wanted to find where you were going first because that was going to be the harder part and selling your house was going to be the easier part. We are moving towards a place where selling the houses is just taking a little bit longer right now. And so that may change our strategy in what we say, in what to do. But if you want to sell first and then buy, financially safe, figuring out possibly where you might have to live for a little while you find the house you want to buy.
Yeah, and I would say definitely where you have that financial security of knowing your home is already sold, make sure you also are factoring in, though, that some of those temporary solutions are another part of the financial equation. How much will you have to pay for storage unit if you need that? Are there different rental costs? Are there deposits you might lose if it's a short-term lease?
Double moving costs.
The moving trucks to physically move you. There are costs in that you just want to make sure. Sometimes that's still a great plan, but make sure you know the availability of where you would want to go for that temporary housing, the welcoming of your adult kids that want you to move in for a few months. Make sure you have that part of the plan fully fleshed out and that you know the costs associated so you're not surprised and take a hit, with some chunks of money that you were counting on for your next step. Just make sure to factor those in.
Yep. So then plan B would be buy first and then sell. And that's kind of what we have been doing more in this market that we have just been in. Buying first and then selling, it can be a great option in the ease of it, right? There isn't a double move. You get to stay in your house, move into the next house, and then sell your house once you've let that go. And that can be nice if you want to have an estate sale in your house or, whatever, because you can't have an estate sale when you're still living there. Most estate sale people won't do that. So being able to, if you're financially capable of, holding on to the house and doing the first, finding the one that you're either going to buy, condo, ranch, what you're going to buy, and then or go into a community and then sell, that is the easiest on you. As far as logistically doing the double moves. There are a couple ways we can do that. If you have outside funds, great. You may have to carry both houses. A lot of the people that we talk to that have lived in their houses a really long time don't have a mortgage on their house anymore. So if you don't, then you're just going to be paying utilities and et cetera for that house,
while
until
it's on
it
the
sells.
Market,
yeah. If you still have a mortgage on that, you may have to pay both of those. There are some loan products if you're going to buy a new condo or you're going to buy a new ranch home or something like that. There are some loan products where you can blanket or bridge the two houses together so that you can use the equity in the house that you have to buy the next house. So you won't be contingent and you won't struggle negotiating, needing to sell your house before you buy the next one. So there's some value in that. And then you would sell the next one, but you'd have to be able to carry both the houses. Or you could do a home equity line of credit on your house. If you have a lot of equity in your house, you could just get a home equity line of credit, use that to buy the next house, or put money down to a community, whatever that looks like, and then sell your house. So you just need to talk to your real estate agent about how long it is taking to sell houses in your area, because that time frame is getting a little bit longer in our area and all over the country. And so you have to know, hey, that'd be okay if I don't sell my house for a month or 2 months or 3 months, if that's what the average.
For the carrying costs, yeah.
Yeah, so you just need to know that you can carry it that long. But on you personally, as the mover, that is the smoothest way, is to be able to find the place you're going, because you know you're going to love that. You're not I think the hardest one, which is this third one that we're going to talk about, is basically kind of getting your house under contract and then finding one to buy, and then having that line up so you can have some kind of a closing that's within a day or two, so that you don't have to move. You can move into the next one because you've bought and closed, pretty much simultaneously, like within a day or two. And the con that I see on that one, unless you're going to a community that you can go right into, is that you have to buy whatever is out there on the market at the moment.
Yeah, I think in different markets that we've experienced, when there was high inventory and, there may be 20, 30, 40 homes available that met what you were looking for, that maybe was a more common option, because you could be confident that something would be at least satisfactory for you to make an offer on and go to when you got your home under contract. In the current market we've been experiencing in our area for the last, few years, the inventory is so low that you could go under contract, and then you really just don't have options to put an offer or win an offer, because you're competing against other buyers that are also desperate to find, a house. And like Jody said, we're in our area seeing that move more towards the balanced and maybe eventually back to the other side. But it's tricky right now for that to be, a way that it all lines up perfectly. And, in this option, you would close on both properties within the same day or within just a couple days, so you have that overlap to move and give occupancy, and the proceeds from one move seamlessly to the other. But that's just real tricky right now to line all of that up, and get you exactly, back to that dreamy, what is it that you wanted? Because
when you do that one, your house that you're selling, your new house buy, will be contingent on selling your house. And so unless you can do that without being contingent, then that gives you a little bit less bargaining power. And if there are other buyers that are out in the market that don't have to have that contingency, they usually will win out, because it's just one less thing that could fall through when you're looking at, apples to apples. If you have more than one contract, you're going to pick one that doesn't have as much potential to fall out. So I think these are, honestly, there's all kinds of different ways that we can do it. And I think they're, number one, related to financially what works for you. But number two, it does relate to what the current market is, and what we can do negotiating wise in that current market.
Yeah, I think also tied into where you're going next, is that somewhere with a waiting list that you then, just want to be ready to go the moment you get the call, and, move it through the process that way. Is it a hard to find property that's popular with a lot of buyers? So will that competition be harder for you to get that? Or is it a community that has a lot of homes for sale, if it's a condo or a ranch, or a senior living community that is like, yes, we have availability, and you figure out the sale of your home and we'll move you right in.
Yeah. So there is one other option. You could sell your house and rent it back from the people. So that is an option. We haven't used that option in a while, because we haven't been in a market where that seems to be something that people are interested in doing. So not as many of those as there were in other markets, but that would just be, you put your house on the market, you sell it, and the person that you sell it to understands that you have a certain time frame, 1 month, 2 months, to rent it back from them while you find your next property. And then there will be a price that you are paying as a rental price, basically renting the house back from them. And the downside of that is that will narrow your buyer pool, because not every buyer will be interested in that. Some people, when they go to buy a house, they need to move into it.
Yeah, they're essentially then waiting that same month or 2 months to get into their new home. So you have to have a buyer willing to do that, that isn't working under their own timeline of pressures for a school district and school starting, or
military. We have a lot of military
job transfer from another state. You have to find a buyer that has that flexibility of time and the willingness to take that on. There's some other financial caveats or insurance caveats on, how long, that can't be an infinite time period, because, they're still buying it as an owner-occupied property and need that to happen within the timeframes they need. And so while you buy yourself a little more time to look for your next home, it's not an infinite, I'll just look until I find the perfect place. So you really do have to have a bit of a plan for that to work, and know that you need to have a plan B if you don't find that next home to buy in that time frame in order to get closed in time.
And different markets are different. Our market, when you close on the property, it'll say you have a certain number of days. It might be 0 days, like you give them the property the day you close, or you might have 3 days or 7 days, and that is written into our contract in how quickly that you need to vacate the property once you have sold it. I think we've talked to some people that feel like, oh, don't you have like a month to get out afterwards? And I don't know if that was something that happened back in when the last time they sold a property or whatever that is, but now that's written into the contract exactly when that is, and it's usually not that long unless you're doing some kind of a rent back or something like that, because they're paying the mortgage on the house, they own the house, and you're still in it.
Yeah.
And so just know that the timing on that, usually once you go under contract on your house, it's usually 30 to 45 days to closing, and then you might have a few more days to move out. So as we work our way backwards, and of course, when we go and talk to people, we talk about all of this. And so, we do all that math for you. But that will help you figure out when you need to put the house on the market, knowing, where you want to go and when you want to get there.
Yeah, I think today we'll definitely give an overview of these different options, but it's our role to help you decide which one would be the best. And definitely your most important role is, number one, having that dream of what you want that to look like so that we can find the right path to get you there. And then working on, what we talk about in most of our other episodes is getting ready. So while you're waiting to meet, with us or your agent, and you're doing that, get ready to be ready so that when that right opportunity comes along, you're as ready to move quickly as you can be, and not starting at ground zero with your stuff or, the other pieces. Just have that information and those habits around less.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have the luxury of time, use it wisely and start, downsizing your things inside of your bigger house right now so that you can get there when that time comes. And that's back to all of that stuff, being afraid of letting things go, feeling rushed or pressured by your family, and sometimes you may not have that option. You may not have the luxury of time. Something may have already happened. You may be in some kind of a crisis situation. And if that's the case, we can move really quickly too. We can handle every situation that there is, and we have handled them all. But if you have the luxury of time, take the time, get ready, find out the information, handle your things. It will feel much, much better. Even if you think, I want to downsize in 3 to 5 years, I would start handling the things that you want to downsize already so that you can be prepared.
The things and handle the information gathering. We can point you in lots of directions, but make those, phone calls and start getting some information Because I think what we see very often is people just procrastinate because of the unknown, and in their mind it is so much harder than what it actually is. If you're like, oh no, you can do this and that, and
especially
you don't
with
have
resources.
to move twice.
Yeah,
and
right.
people just don't have any idea or a financial option to, do a bridge or a blanket loan if that works for them. They just weren't even aware of the options.
Right.
And so much time spent worrying what's not really even a problem into a huge mountain that they then just don't move forward. So we don't want to see that for you guys, and just start tackling the stuff so that part is easier when you're ready, and start information gathering.
And if tackling the stuff is a problematic, we have resources for that too. So if there's anything that feels like this is what my stumbling block is, if you're thinking I want to downsize but I can't because of blank, give us a call, because we probably have an answer for that or a resource for that can help you move past that. There are people who can help you look for communities that are free services. There are people that can help you sort through your things. There's just so many options of resources of people that I didn't, some of them I knew existed, but some of them I didn't even know existed. And so whatever that is, I'm not moving because of blank, let us know.
Yeah.
And we will help you find those resources.
Yeah. So decision fatigue and stuff, that is part of this process that becomes, another procrastination tactic. We see that people will say, they might need it, or they don't know what they will need in their next home because they haven't chosen that yet. And I do strongly feel like there's a lot you can do and leave just the portion of the I'm not sure yet because I don't know where I'm going. Yeah. But we can get started on a lot of the stuff well before.
Yeah, the fourth bedroom's furniture you probably aren't going to keep.
Yeah. So don't let not knowing that next spot be your stopping point from getting started at all. Definitely go ahead and get started. Get your adult children involved in, if you want their advice on what they might have ideas on the best plan, certainly that. If you need advice on how to have tough conversations when you've already, decided and it's just not being met with as much support, we can help with some resources and some tactics and some suggestions on those conversations, but just moving the ball forward.
Yeah. I think just figuring out what it is, what answers do you need to, get rid of that anxiety. And honestly, when we go and talk to somebody, it's not a quick conversation. We kind of talk through all kinds of things. We talk about the real estate, obviously, and if there's things that need to be done around the house, if you're going to sell it, and we talk about all of those things. But we definitely talk about the stuff and the timing, and there's a lot of questions about timing, and I think that's probably the biggest concern of is how is the timing going to go, and what does that look like? So we talk about all of those things and the stuff, and who's going to help with it, and where it's going to go, and all of that stuff. So when we walk away from that first consultation, people really feel like, okay, I have a path. I know what I need to do next. And
if you're feeling overwhelmed, it is so likely that it is just due to a lack, a missing piece of information. Mm-hmm. So ask questions. Ask, how do I handle this, or what does this normally look like? And a lot of that overwhelm, I just talked with one of our clients that we met, that's making some plans and coming up with her timeline. And, the conversation started with that overwhelm. And then we talked through those steps, just reiterating what her time frame looked like. And she said, I feel better, and that can just ease your mind, knowing, okay, I'm on the right path for my situation and I'm moving forward a little bit each day.
So just make sure that if you're thinking about it, downsizing, you call us or anywhere in the country we can find you somebody who has a real estate team that has downsizing experience and senior experience. And I think you need to make sure that you talk to an agent that has that experience and has those resources and has spent some time accumulating those resources. So let us know if that's something that you need from us or from one of our partners.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly why we built this arm of our real estate business. We know it feels hard and it feels overwhelming, but we have these resources and we've taken a deep dive into figuring out how to make it easier. So definitely we're the ones to call and get you through it. We've got a plan, and we want to help you create that plan for yourself.
Yep. So hopefully this helped you get a general idea of some different options of timing and financing and what that can look like. If you have specific questions, give us a call. Check out our website. We do have some resources on there, or if they're not on there, just give us a call and we'll tell you exactly who you need to talk to.
Yeah, downsizingroadmap.com, and we will talk to you next time. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.